Hello, hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. I'm Audrey, a paralegal turned stay-at-home mom who loves true crime. The cases I cover are wild, topics may be triggering, viewer and listener discretion is strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. With all that being said, grab your hot Cheetos and let's get started on today's case. In research and writing this case, I had to take several ADHD breaks as well as emotional breaks because of the nature of this particularly heinous crime. I remember watching the 2006 Lifetime movie A Girl Like Me, the Gwen Araujo story, and watching it hit me like a ton of bricks for various reasons. The first being that this was a Bay Area case, and growing up in the Bay Area myself, and I'm talking about San Francisco Bay Area, where I thought was accepting of the LGBTQ plus community. San Francisco is what most may call the Mecca for a safe haven for the LGBTQ plus community. I talked about it a little bit in my Harvey Milk episode, but after World War II, there was an influx of members of the LGBTQ plus community in San Francisco. During this time, what was called blue discharges were happening, which was a form of military discharge issued to people who were caught engaging in homosexuality in the military. Port Mason was the last port of call before the war in the Pacific. When the war in the Pacific Ocean ended, over 100,000 members of the LGBTQ plus community moved to the city between 1972 and 1977. Today, San Francisco, in particular, the Castro, is known as a prominent center for our beautiful rainbow. So watching the Gwen Araujo story on Lifetime when I was 15 was a shocker to me. I think it was also the first time I was able to comprehend the level of hate some people have towards others simply for being different than them. It opened my eyes to the scary fact that just because the Bay is beautiful, multicultural, multiracial, and mostly accepting of the LGBTQ plus community, however, real life cucuys and lloronas of the world still live among us. Gwen Amber Rose Araujo was born as dead name Eddie Araujo on February 24, 1985 to Sylvia Guerrero and Edward Araujo in the Southern California city of Brawley. She has a sister named Pearl, and her parents divorced when she was a baby. After her parents separated, she and her sister and her mom moved to Newark, California. And her mom, Sylvia, went to have two more sons, Gwen's little brothers. In September of 1955, Newark, California was officially incorporated, named after the Newark Castle in Scotland. Today, Newark, California has approximately 46,929 residents. It's located in the East Bay, about 40 miles away from San Francisco. On July 4th of 1999, when Gwen was 14, she officially came out to her family as a trans girl. This is when she asked to be called Gwen after her favorite singer, Gwen Stefani, from the band No Doubt. Everything in the media and even at her first murder trial, the first murder trial for the brutal hate crime of the murder of Gwen Amber Rose Araujo, everyone used her dead name, which is extremely disrespectful to her as a trans woman. or a trans girl, because when she was killed, she was only 17. And I sympathize with her family because even her mom, Sylvia, would catch herself calling her Eddie, but in the context that she had just come out as trans 3 years prior to her murder, they were still getting used to the transition. Sylvia would become an aggressive advocate for trans rights, and she moved legislation to pass a law banning the trans panic defense to be used in court. She also legally changed her name to Gwen Amber Rose Araujo and made sure all parties did not dead name her at her second trial. Something that pulled on my heartstrings about this case is how much of a loving young girl Gwen was. She wanted everyone to always know that they were loved. When her mom, siblings, aunts, cousins, friends, uncles said "I love you" to her, she would respond with "I love you too much." Not that it's any of our business, but when she came out, she started growing out her hair and began hormone therapy. She had plans on undergoing gender assignment surgery in the future. Gwen was bullied in school due to the pure hatred geared towards the LGBTQ plus community. She left regular school due to major bullying, harassment, and plain hatred for being who she was. Even the district superintendent at the time is quoted saying, when asked about Gwen, that, quote, he heard he wasn't aggressive and preferred women's clothing, unquote. Gwen was not allowed to use the girls' bathroom, and this is such a problem in the world we live in today. Even today, gender nonconforming or trans people or people of the LGBTQ plus community are so afraid of using, quote, the wrong public restroom that they avoid them as much as possible, often at their own expense. Gwen transferred to an alternative high school but did not return for the 2002-2003 academic school year and left school altogether. However, leaving the abusive environment that her school was did not hinder her goals and aspirations. She wanted to become a professional makeup artist and dreamed about working on famous faces. Had she not been brutally murdered, I can see her reaching this goal because she was extremely talented. Another issue she faced was trouble getting a job, as when she presented herself as the young girl she was to her interviews, they would do a double take when looking at her legal ID that did not reflect her true self. This is another major issue in the trans and non-binary community face today, not just in the workforce, but in true crime. When a trans person is murdered, sometimes it is difficult to properly identify them because of this exact issue. When Gwen and her friends would go to parties around her area, and most especially sometimes in San Francisco, when asked for her name, she would say Lita or Wendy or Gwen, depending on her mood. And same, because back in my street life days, I would also give out a fake name at bars and clubs.